Well, good morning again, everybody. Welcome to the Team Excellence Call. This is Lynn Gardner calling in from cold and dreary Virginia. We haven't officially hit winter yet, but we've already seen a little bit of snow, and we're experiencing some pretty cold temperatures, especially at night. It's 32 degrees right now, but it's supposed to be, believe it or not, this weekend in the 60s. So it's going to be fun for me to get out there and work on the barn, right? It's a crazy time of year in Virginia, that's for sure, up and down. But you know what we lose in foliage colors, we'll soon be making up for with Christmas colors, and the beauty of the Christmas season will see me through, no doubt. Amen. You all know that I just launched a book that's been sitting on the sidelines for way too long. There's a lot of adversity slowed things down, but a lot of perseverance made it finally happen. Thank you, God. And I'm praying for the words within this book to bless the masses. The title of that book is Walking on Water, and it's a story of faith, hope, love, and business, all built on water. So I hope you'll read it. That's a given. But more than that, I hope you'll be spreading the message of hope to others throughout this holiday season. This can be an incredibly difficult time of year for so many people. People lose hope. It's a difficult time. So please, don't be inclined to get caught up in your own family or your own agenda or your own celebration or your own glitz and your own glamour and your own cookies, and forget all about those people suffering on the sidelines of life. There are countless ones. And, I just hope that you'll reach out to them in some way and offer them hope. By the way, as a sidebar here before I get going, I just want to let you know that there's another book coming out next week, and I believe it'll be beneficial to you and your business. So the first one was all spiritual. It's all heart, right? This one is really inclined toward our business, and it's entitled Toilets, Taps, and Trash. Leave it to me to come up with a title like that, right? It takes a real close look at our water problems and the options out there. And by the time the reader is done, the goal is that they'll be compelled to make some changes. And so watch out for that one. I hope that will bless you in a whole different way. Believe it or not, the message today was inspired somewhat by some of the responses I received about the book. It first launched in digital format on Kindle, and a host of people wanted to get the book, but they had no idea how to access it. They just couldn't bring themselves to take the initiative. And I'm not judging that. Believe me, Kindle was new for me too. But, it's these people didn't take that initiative to figure out the process that frankly would take only 5 to 10 minutes to figure out. They gave up or they refused to try. Some people have reached out to comment on my boldness, to share some very personal things about my life. These people wouldn't dare reveal their journey to the world, and they don't understand how I could either. In fact, some reprimanded me. But the journey isn't about me. It's about the God I serve and the journey he knew I needed to endure and that I'd be willing to share one day. Some people couldn't see the forest for the trees, and they focused more on what they expected the book to be about than what it really is. It's all been very interesting, all positive, by the way, just interesting. I've shared with you all before that, I don't have a formal education and no college degree here, right? And I'm sure it might show here and there in the book. I have a respectable IQ. I know that because my mentor a million years ago insisted that I be tested because you know what? I was feeling inferior to all the advanced degrees around me. I went down kicking and screaming. I didn't want to take that test, but the results built my confidence, and I never worried about being as smart as any of them after that. What a blessing that man gave to me. But what I do have, probably from the School of Hard Knocks and most assuredly from a tremendous amount of work on personal development, is what I do have is far more powerful than a degree or a great IQ. What I have is a piece that so many people are missing. What I have is more important when it comes to success. What I have is a strong EQ, which is an emotional intelligence. So the message today is entitled EQ over IQ for Success. Everybody on this call is familiar with IQ, no doubt about that, but I'm guessing some of you aren't quite so familiar with EQ. Believe it or not, EQ is what you're attempting to develop when you work on your personal development. Personal development isn't about getting smarter. It's about that emotional side. It's the EQ that you're working on, because that's the key behind your success. So what is EQ? Well, in simple terms, it pertains to a person's ability to understand his or her emotions along with the emotions of other people. It's what sets apart what we refer to as somebody being a people person from all the other people. EQ, frankly, is where your fulfillment is found, your contentment is found, and EQ is where people skills are. EQ is what usually will get a person hired above a more educated person, even a more experienced person. That EQ has more power because the corporate world sees a strong EQ as a major benefit, and they know that the one with a strong EQ will be a great team player. You know, I told my kids over time, I raised four, you know, single-handedly, and I was real funny about manners and courtesy. And you know, when I would correct them over something, perhaps they walked in front of a group of people talking or something, I would slow down and very quietly explain to them why that was not okay, right? I helped them understand to be sensitive to other people. I told them that no matter how high you go with your education, your good manners, your people skill, your EQ will get you farther. And you know what? It's proven to be true. You know, we're all familiar with what it looks like and feels like to be around people with a low EQ. You may not realize that's what you're looking at, even though you haven't, because you haven't put a label on it till maybe today. They're the ones that don't hesitate to rock the boat. You know, when they see something they don't like, they're not happy, they make sure you know it, and they don't understand why you should be happy either. They're the ones that don't have boundaries. You know, they haven't mastered self-control, and they're inclined to lash out when they're upset. They're the ones that struggle with motivation, and they blame their lack of success on other people or the lack of knowledge, or instead of forging through determined to succeed. They're the ones, frankly, that lack empathy, although they don't see it that way, and it's not possible to extend compassion without empathy. Lastly, they're the ones that lack those social skills, and I'm not referring to being a social butterfly. You know what? Most people are not social butterflies, including the most successful people. The social skills that I'm referring to is being so aware of your surroundings that you learn when to talk and when to listen and everything in between. You're so in tune with the emotions of other people that you're courteous and respectful above all. You have good manners. Why? Because when you have a high EQ, you understand what other people feel and what makes them feel good. If you want to be successful, and if you want to recruit people, whether it's for your faith or for this business, you know, you need to be sure that you're worrying less about your IQ, in our world, the IQ of ionized water, and start focusing more on your EQ. There are 5 pillars to EQ. And that's what we all need to be striving for as we look to build ourselves and to build our team. So we're going to go over them very quickly this morning. The first one is self-awareness. If a person has a healthy sense of self-awareness, he or she understands that their own strengths and weaknesses, they see them, right? As well as how their actions affect other people. A person who's self-aware is usually better able to handle and learn from constructive criticism than one who's not. And they're very, very rarely rude. And you know what? They're devastated when they think they have been. Well, you know, guys, I've shared with you before that I was in the real estate auction business for 18 years, and I've conducted thousands upon thousands of auctions. But if you ever want to see me squirm, put me in the audience as someone else doing an auction that has a low EQ. They're oblivious to how other people are reacting to them. They're clueless about their demeanor. They're leaving money on the table, and they don't know how to step outside of their entertainment mode to evaluate the world around them. They have a low EQ. The same is true, frankly, in our business. We'll see people doing demos that are very good entertainers. You know, they're excited and they're pumped up, you know, but they're clueless about their actions and how they're impacting other people or not. We don't learn to put the interests of other people before ourselves before we master EQ. It's a necessity. Number 2 is self-regulation. A person with a high EQ can maturely reveal their emotions and exercise restraint whenever they need to. So instead of just burying their feelings, they express them with restraint and control. You know what? Anybody can be a hothead when things don't go their way. And most of the time, people, when they're hothead, they justify the reason for their actions. But this is a true sign of a very weak EQ. I can't count how many times I've been accused of being a doormat in my life when I was faced with conflict because of the way I handled it. But I have a strong EQ, and I have control over my emotions. And you know what? Having control over emotions isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength. Number 3 is motivation. Emotionally intelligent people are self-motivated. They're not motivated simply by money or title or rank or any of those things. They're usually resilient and optimistic. When they encounter disappointment, they look at, quote unquote, failure as a learning opportunity, and they're driven by inner ambition. When you work your way through those other 2 things, self-awareness and self-regulation, when you work your way through those, putting other people first and controlling your reactions, then you get really motivated because you see the entire picture. You begin to see your journey as being being way far from money and status, and you're motivated to change lives without the need for a kick in the tail to get you moving. You're self-motivated. Number 4 is empathy. A person who has empathy has compassion and an understanding of human nature that allows them to connect with other people on an emotional level. The ability to empathize allows a person to provide a great service and respond genuinely to other people's, concerns. No doubt this is one of the most powerful aspects of EQ. We've talked about in the past about how Dale Carnegie said, and it's so true, that we're not dealing with people of logic, we're dealing with people of emotion. So it's vitally important to reach people at the emotional level. When what you know about ionized water isn't nearly as important as your ability to express empathy and to extend compassion. Only then can we genuinely respond to their needs with a solution that leads to success. And this exercising empathy is true in every area of life. Whether you're dealing with a relationship and you're trying to move forward with that and get your point across, or you're dealing with sharing the Lord with someone else, you can't get there by being logical. You have to reach an emotional level to be able to reach the heart that gets people to move forward. So it's true in every area. It's true for every area of life. Number 5 is people skills. People who are emotionally intelligent are able to build rapport and trust very quickly with other people and people on their teams. They avoid power struggles and backstabbing. They usually enjoy other people and they have the respect of everybody around them. Once again, when you get to an emotional handle on you, then you can build rapport and trust. But you know what? If you're stuck in the past and you haven't put in the time toward this personal development and you haven't overcome some of your hurts, you'll never be able to relate to other people because your past is dictating your future. That's a prime example of living in the past. People skills come in all kinds of shapes and sizes, and it doesn't mean that you have to be the outgoing one, that party girl, that party guy, the one with the best jokes. People skills involve listening, and people skills involve loving. Respect is mandatory, and you know what else is? Courtesy and manners. Boy, do we have a problem in that area these days. That's a lesson for another day, no doubt, but you'll be hearing from me. But all these things are pieces to the people skills that all of us need to be working on. So that's the power list for personal development, and it's a focus on EQ. The good news about EQ is that it can always be developed. Unlike the IQ, you can put in the time with personal development, and you can absolutely build a strong EQ. If you wash everything else away, that's the core of personal development, and that's the key to your success, developing a strong EQ. Because the EQ leads to success farther and faster than any IQ ever will, as is the case with anything in life, first you need to admit that you need to grow in this area. Once you have a serious talk with yourself and you evaluate where you stand, you know what? Roll up your sleeves and get to work, because you can do something about it. All the components to the EQ can be developed. Also, keep these things in mind as you recruit. No doubt, people come to us from all directions of life, and everybody's in a different place in the journey. Some of those with a low EQ will put in the time toward personal development, and you'll look at them one day in awe. They'll be soaring like an eagle because they put in the time and they develop their EQ. But lots of those low EQs are happy where they are, and they'll refuse to grow. There's nothing wrong with them. If they broke, don't fix it, right? They're not moving. You can't force somebody into growth, and you can't necessarily motivate them on your own. So be careful where you spend your time. Be a good leader in every area of your life, and be sure that your EQ is strong, and just keep moving. Remember, healthy boundaries are healthy. They're not cruel. It's not a bad thing to draw boundaries. Even Jesus said, kick the dust off your feet and keep moving when you encounter people not willing to listen to what you have to share. And honestly speaking, most of the ones that refuse to hear and refuse to take the action that we all know they need to take, they have a very low EQ. The high IQ doesn't matter. It's their low EQ that you're dealing with. They can't trust or believe or build because of their low EQ. When you look at it that way, perhaps the process won't be nearly as frustrating to you when you share and they refuse to see. So what's it going to be for you? Out of all the weak spots in our industry, I can tell you this is one of the biggest ones. It's not that people don't know about our water. It's not that they can't do a demo. It's not that they're not the most outgoing person on the planet. It's the fact that they have a low EQ and they're not making the effort to change it. Will you evaluate your EQ, and are you willing to work on it? I sure hope so. Because remember, number one on that list was to evaluate yourself and be real with where you are. I'm living proof that you can teach an old dog new tricks. And the journey toward being everything we were created to be, it never ends. So hope you guys will go out today and ponder EQ. I hope it's been a blessing to you. It's got a little trigger point to get you moving forward. You guys go out and make it a blessed day. I'll see you next week. See you at the top. Take care. Bye-bye.